improvisation. The art you see on the walls is from an exhibit called Photographic Visions, The Art of Seeing, and this is an offshoot of a panel we did several weeks ago called The Psychoneurology of the Photographic Arts. And these photographs, Jane, where are you?
Yeah, right here.
Hi. Do you want to say anything about the photographs on the wall?
They're improvisations, the most important thing.
Yeah, these are photographs by Jane Ira Bloom, and we're very proud to have them here.
And this wall hanging.
And the wall hanging.
Was made by Min Xiao-Fen.
Anything else you want to comment on in the... So now, please silence your cell phones. All Philoctetes events are available at www.philoctetes.org. You just go to past programming and you hit the dial for the particular program that you'd like to see. We are simulcasting now. And let's see, Jane Ira Bloom is a soprano saxophonist, composer, and pioneer in the use of live electronics and movement in jazz. She's also a tremendous attender of Philoctetes events. That's one of the great, and I just love her. And I just love her. Anyway, she is the winner of the 2007 Guggenheim Fellowship in Music Composition, the 2007 Mary Lou Williams Women in Jazz Award for Lifetime Service to Jazz. I'm going to have to get a relay person to read because it's really long now. The Jazz Journalists Association Award and the Downbeat International Critics Poll for Soprano Saxophone and the Charlie Parker Fellowship for Jazz Innovation. Bloom was the first musician commissioned by the NASA Art Program and has an asteroid named in her honor by the International Astronomical Union. Is there a way I can get an asteroid too?
You got to make friends with one of the astronomers.
She has received numerous commissions composing for the American Composers Orchestra, the St. Luke's Chamber Ensemble, Palabolas Dance Theater, integrating jazz performers in new settings. She has recorded and produced 13 albums of her music and holds degrees from Yale University and the Yale School of Music. Bloom is currently on the faculty of the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music in New York. And so, Jane, you want to take it away?
Okay, here we go.
da da Maria dia da di do di do di da na 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 di da
Thank you. Maybe we could turn the drone off for just a sec. Yeah. That was a brand new piece written for this brand new group, for this brand new place called New Math. Peace of mind.
Interesting.
It's hot off the press. Let me take a moment to introduce these extraordinary musicians who are joining me today. Please welcome Geetha Ramanathan Bennett on South Indian veena and voice. Min Xiao-Fen on the pipa. Dr. Frank Bennett on mridangam and assorted percussion. It's just extraordinary to have these people all here together. I dreamed of this group, and it's happening. Just to give you a little heads up on what we thought we'd go about doing today is, I've been to so many of the events at the center where often specialists from so many fields have come together to talk, and people who don't know one another or know anything about their various disciplines. I thought the most interesting thing that we could do from a musical point of view from you is to do the same thing. We are from vastly different musical traditions, which we'll talk about. But I'd like you to see how it is, not only that we talk about, but also the way we play, that we find things in common and then we find things that are very different about each other. And, you know, we had a rehearsal yesterday. We were talking all about it. I mean, different parameters. Probably a good place to start, maybe, was you probably want to know what that piece was about. How much of that was written and how much was improvised? That was the written part. The counter melody that you heard me play with them, that was written. The rest was all in the imaginations of these extraordinary musicians, given that we have a certain amount of shared musical vocabulary. But it's really 5% composition, I'd say 95% improvisation. And that'll give you a sense of it. Maybe just to start with, because we're from such different traditions, maybe we could start with Geetha. Just if we could talk a little bit about the relationship between what's composed and what's improvised in the musical world that you're from, you know.
Good afternoon, everybody. So nice to play for you. It's a very attentive, focused audience, and it's a great pleasure to play for you and sing for you. I'm coming from the tradition of South Indian music, which is called Carnatic music. In the northern side, it's called Hindustani. And there is a vast difference even between those two. In a concert, typical concert, you will hear maybe 2-3 lines of composed pieces in the northern Indian style, and the rest of it improvised on the stage. Only about 100 years behind that of practicing and everything, but still everything is improvised on the stage. Our tradition, we have a lot of compositions, a lot of them. Even myself, I have a huge repertoire because I'm coming from a tradition where my father was a great musician, musicologist, and I grew up with music. I learned the moral tradition. He would teach a line, I'll sing it back. In my case, I actually didn't study with him sitting down and doing it because it was around us. I heard it all my life, and I have been playing this instrument from day one. I know myself. The thing is, in this music, improvisation is also a very huge part. Like what I was singing at the beginning, I was given a scale. I'm trained in such a way that I'm given a scale, I can improvise on it. With rhythm, without rhythm, melody. And when Jane taught me that line, I just listened to it once and I repeated that. That's how I didn't have to write it down. I can do it. That's a tradition. If you ask me to look at it and play, I will be making a lot of mistakes. It has to come from here. So the improvisation part, we are trained to do so much as we learn a piece. Like if I'm going to do this, it's called Mohanam in our raga system. So it's a pentatonic scale. Actually, it's very simple for us. And if I'm learning a composition in that, I will do an improvisation before the composition, which is a free improvisation called alap or alapana. And then during the song, I can also improvise with the rhythm, the rhythmic pulse. With the drummer, I will be doing that. That's also possible. So in my system, that Carnatic system, we have both lots of compositions, a lot of improvisations, and the professionals have to do both. They have to know both.
Did you sing first when you were when you started? Did you play the veena first, your first style, or did you sing first?
My father got me a small veena.
A mini veena?
Mini, this big. And believe it or not, I was very shy to sing. I was very shy to sing. In my late teenagers, I found a man who was in love with this music. I wanted to impress him. I already impressed him with my veena playing, but I had to impress him with my singing. So I practiced every day for a month, and I married him. I used to sit there and do like this. Many times. Why won't you marry me? It worked, guys. It worked. And then I found that the vocal, the voice, is so amazing instrument that nature, God has given us. And it's amazing what you can do with it. So from that point, whenever I can, I sing also. In my concerts, even in my CD, there's a song that I'm playing and singing. It so happens it's the same mode.
Oh, wow.
Mohan.
Synchronicity.
It's I'm singing and playing at the same time. So
cool. Let's go to Min now. Interesting similarities and differences.
A lot of difference. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarity too. I grew in Africa where I was also a musician family. My father, he is an educator and a professor, pipa master, teaching in Nanjing University.
No microphone.
And in Chinese traditional music, we have a score. We never play improvisation.
Two.
We
One,
never. It's all about the self-expression, philosophy. I can say this in Chinese music because even with pulse, even with breath, you have to follow, teach. Master taught you, right? And in Chinese music also, especially traditional music, you have to play strong, but not aggressive, soft, but not weak. So always looking for the middle. So that's why every stroke, every play, every touch, you really need to control, your every, little touch or whatever. So this is a really totally different. So of course, it was when I studied later come to America, I started doing some improvisation. But before the first time, I can tell you a little bit. The first time I was so scared. I just somebody on the stage, Wadada Liu Smith, you know him, right?
Yeah.
This is the first experience, when I on the stage. He never told me, oh, you have to. Improvisation on the stage. He suddenly, on the stage, he knocked me. He said, okay, improvisation. That was horrible. That was, a nightmare for me. It's an embarrassing concert. I never played in my whole life because I wasn't ready. I just can't let it go. But in traditional, let's go back. My father, he's my very important teacher in my life, and he taught me all the traditional repertoire because pipa has long history, more than 2,000 years of the history, and so has a large repertoire. There's a lyrical style, martial style. There has more than 70 techniques. You see this instrument, and there has this. Now this is a modern pipa. There's 4 strings and also 6 large frets and also 24 bamboo frets. So totally 30 frets. So, yeah, well, I can show you a little bit of lyrical style. What is lyrical style? What is martial style? So just a very short moment I show you. So lyrical style, mostly, my left hand, the techniques. And you see a lot of pushing strings. And the most lyrical style is about connected with nature and with a very subtle song, and like this. Lyrical style. The martial style, you will see most of the techniques from my right hand. Looks like storyteller.
Min, was it a composed piece, already composed?
There's a composed piece.
That one you played?
No, this is a traditional repertoire. Yeah.
It is composed already?
Yeah, it's of course past the many generations. We don't know who is the composer, but it's a traditional repertoire. Then I can show you about martial style. Martial style is emphasize my right hand, and I'm tell you a story. And so the story could be very tense, could be ancient battle. So see, I can show you a couple techniques from imitating the battle song. For example, we have a song like very. You see when you have a battle song, this song that's very noisy, shouting, and all kinds of sort of song. People can be like this kind of song. This is kind of a gong shot, and also a sword song like a. Something like that. This is all kind of animals field. So this is about martial style. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
All right.
There are no musicians in my family. I think I come from a long line of furriers and textile merchants. However, not my mother. My mother, my parents were New Yorkers, used to go to clubs, hear people like Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald. When I was growing up, there was the record collection of Ella Fitzgerald. And believe it or not, those are the earliest sounds I remember of hearing jazz, was Ella Fitzgerald. I think my father taught me how to play the ukulele. I mentioned that, you see. But unlike the other two musicians here, singing was not part of my first approach to music. It was through an instrument, through the interface, so whether it was a piano or whether it was the saxophone later on. So, interestingly enough, I've thought about this. My voice was something that I'm not sure I even knew what it was. And the process of learning this instrument, the soprano saxophone, which of the family of the saxophones, there's the bari, the tenor, the alto, and the big one. This is the higher one of them. It eventually chose me, and of all the saxophones, it tends to be the most exacting in terms of playing in tune and intonation. So there's a lot of technical issues in playing this instrument, so that the instrument doesn't play you and you play it. So over a good amount of time, and of course I didn't study with someone in my family. I studied with a master teacher named Joe Viola, who was the head of woodwind studies at the Berklee College of Music. I lived outside of Boston. And those were my beginnings on the saxophone, through his mentorship. But interestingly enough, I think I trace the original sounds to my mother as opposed to my father. And in terms of improvisation, when I played the piano, I used to like to make things up from the get-go. I was interested in instruments and sounds from the time that I can remember being 4. And nobody told me that you can't do that. I used to just go to the piano and make things up, and that's what I came to learn, was improvisation. Then the first time I heard jazz rhythms, something inside me clicked, even a little person, and then I began that learning process. But couldn't be any different in terms of our approaches. Yeah, Frank has an interesting story to tell.
Coming from the South, my first job in music when I was in junior high was with a country band, playing on the radio. Never played with these guys before, so believe me, it was truly an improvisation. And I remember that the little light comes on in the studio when you're on the air, right? And just as the little red light came on, I said, "Charlie, what are we going to play?" And that was my introduction to the world of performance. So I worked in country music, actually, for a long time, and was interested in jazz, and finally got a chance to enjoy that through my dad, who was a weekend drummer. And then when I came to Yale University to do a degree in music, I discovered the world music program at Wesleyan University, which is kind of up the road from Yale, about 25 miles. And there were so many things going on there. There was an African music program. There was an Indian music program. And somehow I gravitated to the Indian music program. I think I remember seeing a note on a board somewhere, there's going to be a class at Yale in Indian music, volunteer, no credit. Anybody can join. So I went there purely out of curiosity. I didn't know anything about Indian music, but I thought, well, it's free. Let's go to it. So I got involved with the Wesleyan program as I was doing my master's in composition at Yale. And Geetha's dad came. He was actually my third teacher of this style of Carnatic music. And I was impressed with the rhythmic aspect of it right away. And so I decided that I would take up this instrument, the vina. And actually, I did not know what a vina was the first time the teacher said to me, "You should take up the vina." I don't know why he said that to me. But I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "I'm bringing one down to our," we did a little vocal concert at the end of our class. He said, "I'm bringing one down tonight, you'll see it." So he helped me order a vina, and I started into this program that gradually sort of transformed my whole musical focus. And then Geetha's dad came along a few years later and trained me in a little bit of vocal, and I studied vina with him. There was also a master drummer there at that time, Ramnath Viragaman, who became my drum teacher. And so it's been now a more than 35-year study of the Carnatic system. And I must say, I feel like a total beginner. Mm-hmm. After 35 years, I know something about that music. But there's still so much to learn, and it's a vast topic.
One of the interesting things people should know about Frank is that he's a brilliant composer, and he is on the cutting edge of creating a new music that combines his vast knowledge of both jazz, harmony, and classical music, and composition with his knowledge of Indian music to create a repertoire that is completely unique. And he's been doing it and championing this for years. And it's just growing and growing anyway. So shall we, we'll play another hybrid piece. This one is a piece I wrote called White Bird. Yes, we need an A and an E.
Is it it?
A and E. Can you give her a concert? A, E. there's some different stuff going on in this music. In terms of just the writing of some of these melodies, I remember writing White Bird when I had first met Min. And there were elements of it, of me thinking about traditional Chinese music, but for sure these melodies have something to do with the way I think about melodies. Something to hear, I guess even the vina and the pipa together, there are things that the instruments are doing that are very much outside of their traditions. Geetha is taking the vina to new avant-garde places, things that are never done in the tradition. And I want to take just a second to talk about the fact that these extraordinary improvisers sitting next to me, not just great virtuoses on their instruments from a traditional point of view, but these are also people who are taking their instruments into the 21st century in very contemporary ways. And we should talk about it. I mean, your background, and even what we were talking about yesterday in terms of, traditional versus new ideas, the things that Min is doing are just extraordinary.
Before I talked about when I was a pure traditional musician, actually, I was a soloist. Worked with traditional Nanjing traditional music orchestra for over 10 years. Of course, during that 10 years, I only played traditional music, and of course, reading score, and once a year, maybe a couple new pieces. We call it contemporary music. Actually, it's really based on traditional music, and so this is what I've been 10 years. I've been doing same thing again, and so that's why I thought of myself. I feel I have to maybe go to American or other country to see something. Maybe something will exciting me, because my life is really already, I felt it's a little bit play too much traditional music. I feel I want to see something new. Maybe I can do something new. So of course, and then I come to America 1992. End of 1992, then I very lucky. I always consider myself as a lucky person, because I very soon I met a lot of contemporary composers. I worked with composers like Tan Dun, Chen Yi, Zhou Long. Of course, all those are the Chinese composers, but they're writing the contemporary music. And then before, the traditional music is mostly the pentatonic scale, and the meter mostly is like a 4/4 and a 3/4, 2/4. So, but soon I work with modern composers, and the meter changes all the time. Oh God, crazy! And so I have to work double hard in China. I have to use metronome to just play exactly like a machine, But I learned so much from the contemporary music. Then, of course, when I first came to America, I was living in San Francisco. But the first person I met, jazz composer and also trumpet player. I mentioned it before. His name is Wadada Liu Smith, and I already told you about story. Now I've been stood on the stage. Let me improvisation. That was totally unexpected, because I wasn't ready for that. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't continue. I totally lost later the piece. Of course, and then I moved to New York in 1996. Then I met many great composers, musicians, jazz type of the composers. For example, Jane Ira Bloom. She is a real model for me, and for women, she's a real model. And also, and of course, also another very important person, Jiang Zorn. And he pushed me go that way. He said, you should try. And the first opportunity he gave me is recording with duet recording with Derek Bailey. And so I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I don't know how to improvise. I said, I'm not ready. But he said, listen to Derek Bailey. He's a great guitarist, and who just passed away two years ago, right? He's my really big hero too. Then I listened to his music. His music is no melody. It's all abstract, totally abstract. So this is all new for me too. Then I tried to study his style. Then finally I agreed and said, okay, I will do it. I take chance. Otherwise I will limit myself. I should try many ways. So then we met in studio. Then we just recorded whole CDs, improvisation. I learned so much from him, because one moment I always remember, my whole life can always remember that moment. During the recording, we played one very long piece. And then during this piece, suddenly I hear the string broken, boom. And now for me, okay, I'm gonna stop, right? I'm waiting for stop. But he is just amazing. He's a master player. He just won't stop. He didn't hear any hesitation. He continued play. Then he used the broken string to scratch on the frets. Oh my God, that I will never forget, because that moment actually. Then now you go back to listen the moment, the take, the music. Oh, just so beautiful, so unique. So I just realized I learned so much from those master players like Jane Ira Bloom. Anything you can make song, you can play with anything. So this is what I consider my lucky.
Oh, you're doing it. But we were talking yesterday, your family, in relationship to how they look at what you're doing from the tradition. It's a whole different story.
Yes, my family, of course, they're very traditional background. Actually, my father, of course, I already mentioned, he's a pipa master. My sister, she's very famous, actually. Erhu is Chinese fiddle, string fiddle, player. She's in China. She's very famous. And also my brother, he is a conductor, Western orchestral conductor. So right now, what I'm doing is a little bit scare them because they're unexpected what I'm doing. But my father, he's a very kind, strict, very kind father. He once in a little while I brought him some CD, my music to him. He listened. He just said, "Okay," he said, "I just don't understand. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to play? What are is your try to present your music?" He said, "Whatever. I just try to understand you." So, this is that's I felt whatever. I just do whatever I like.
Sure.
But whatever I do, I feel the traditional roots are still there. I don't want to, give up my traditional background. Yes.
You compare and contrast with this.
I'm married an American, the traditional man. I'm from a Brahmin family, very strict. I still have not tasted meat in my life. I've been living in this country for a long time. My son sometimes said, "Mom, you are missing something." Anand used to say that. Now he has turned to be a vegetarian. I said, "Hey, you come to mine." My father, it's amazing. Very traditional family, traditional musician. When I grew up, when I was a little girl, he used to buy these small vinyl records. They're not LP records, they're smaller. and you have to do, I'm not that old, but still, you have to.
78.
Yeah, you have to do something and then put a needle there. I vaguely remember that. I remember the song I heard on that LP that he had. I will play for it. You will recognize what it is. It's really, Frank has never heard this, so it's going to be. Changed.
The harmony shifted. Dancing cheek to cheek.
This was when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old. I heard this. I still today I remember it. It so happened Frank is an orchestrator for movies in Hollywood films. He worked on that movie called with Gregory Hines, Tap, and he had to rearrange that song for Gregory Hines dancing in that. I said, I know that song.
I can play it. I can play it.
You know what? I didn't know one word of that either. Because I didn't understand, it was American, I couldn't understand what words. I used to just, mumble,
heaven.
I didn't know that.
I'm in heaven.
No way I would have understood that. And then, I also, somebody, when I came to, first time to America, they said, we have to go downtown. I said, I know that. Downtown. I started singing that. I said, no, in this country we have a downtown in every city. For me it was only Petula Clark, right? And my father will play on the radio, there will be some piano music. He was such an open-minded person, you won't believe. He was very traditional musician when it comes to this instrument and the music. He actually, when he came to this country, he has worked with Frank and did some of the blues. We have this blues raga. So he sang with Frank in one of the...
We put a group together and he sang some and we played some. And we
yeah, he was open-minded about that. He was very open-minded. And besides music, I have another career which is actually a very prolific career, I can say. I write short stories in my language, Tamil language, which I get a lot of them published. It is accumulating to be like almost 250 stories now. But my father used to bring these books from America whenever he came back. I went to school where I didn't learn English. My whole medium was in Tamil. But only one language was English, that's it. But my father exposed us to so much. I read the book, It Happened One Night. He brought that, Rebecca. I knew that by heart, the whole script. Can you believe that? I didn't understand. First of all, American English was like you put okra in your mouth and talking. I don't understand. But I was able to read them. I read, and it was very fascinating. So when I came to this country, I said to Frank, let's watch that movie, It Happened One Night. He said, I'd never heard of it. But then we came to know that it's a very famous movie, and I read a lot of English, American. I still don't understand English. I have to have subtitles. But American English, I started studying, reading a lot, and very, involved in that. I think that could have something to do with my writing also. But the tradition, my father was so open-minded. this instrument, for example, it's supposed to be the goddess Saraswati. I shouldn't be pulling, and some traditionalists won't like that. Like, you do those things, she's a goddess, you cannot treat her like this. But the thing is, my father was open-minded that he sang with Frank's groups and things, so I didn't even think twice. When I was, my first one was working with Colgate University Orchestra. I played, I was a featured artist in that Scheherazade. So I played in that. And then it opened up so many avenues. I traveled with Trilo Gurtu's band. I played with, Andy Summers. I have recorded with him in his monk tunes. And John McLaughlin was my father's student. So we used to jam at home all the time, him on the guitar. I didn't know how great he was and popular he was. Only when I saw so many girls hanging outside my house and giving me these looks, how come you get to play with him? And I was not married at the time. And all these girls standing in line outside with the green envy. And so I really didn't have much, I didn't even think twice. And but for my parents to get out of the tradition and marry me to an American, that was the biggest step. So that opened up also for me a lot of new things. And Frank composed a lot of pieces in which I have played with him and played for him and other groups. I'm having one concert in Oneonta next October with the Utica Symphony. I'm going to be featured, vocal and veena. The only request I'll have for Frank is go easy on those complex rhythms. That's the only thing. He is such a great drummer. His Indian rhythms actually, he takes a lot. And I'm very, very fortunate to be living with a musician of this caliber. And for me, as he said about Indian music, for me, Western music, classical, jazz, everything is still so new and fresh and mind-boggling, very hard.
Is there any relationship, Geetha, between storytelling as a writer and storytelling as a musician?
I think so, because improvisation. It's all improvised. Right?
What are your stories about? I mean, I'm sorry, because I don't read Tamil, I don't know.
No, Jane, you asked us to talk a lot. You don't say everything. You should talk after that.
I will.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
You should say something about you, and then I'll come back. I'll come back and talk about that.
No, I'm interested in the electronics, live electronics. Yeah, for those of you who came to the other event that we did here, you can see the elements in my music that push the boundaries have to do with extending my sound palette beyond just the sound of the saxophone, and my interest in movement. It's very unusual, actually, for me to play sitting down, but I felt that it was proper, it was right, because our field of vision is a little lower here, but usually I'm up here. And movement is something that was always completely intuitive to me when I play. I just didn't even know it. And then some dancers who I worked with said, gee, that movement you do when you play, you really ought to think about that. It's really unusual. Often you heard a little bit that I'm interested in the kind of changes that can happen in sound when you move. And one way I've explored doing it is with the bell of this instrument. And, for those of you who have seen pictures of the great jazz musicians, they're like sphinxes, They never move. I mean, it's all the beauty of the instrument, but moving is not part of it. So that element, and I've taken and pushed it a little further with electronics to create a bigger palette of sound to work with. And improvisation, it's how I think. Even when these songs that you've heard that we're playing, I was not even aware of what raga they are based on or what tonal scale. I just hear these things and I write them down and I've done a bunch of listening. And so there's something very intuitive about my process that's attached to the jazz tradition because, I play all the jazz songs and with jazz harmony and rhythms and such. But when it comes to my own writing and thinking, it's a real trust in a absolute moment. And for me, the other discipline that has been part of my life, which is just for my pure interest, has been my black and white photography. The stuff that you see, this is my first show. It's on the back wall. Only my friends know. I usually have print prints and give them all to my friends. But the photography, it was just something I learned in high school. I had a master teacher taught me about darkroom technique. And the way I approach photography, I feel, has a very strong relationship to my thinking as a player, because it's completely spontaneous. I'm not a schooled photographer. I can't tell you the f-stops or anything. I just know what I'm looking for, and somehow I search for it, and there it is. So there's a whole lot of spontaneity to how I approach myself to a visual field. People have told me that there's some very cinematic or visual quality in my music and in my writing, and I've always thought of myself as a somewhat of a visual thinker. When I play, I sometimes think of arcing sound in space. And that actually is a good segue, because often when I'm improvising in a context, even like this one, and I'm even relating to Min, I'm hearing sound, but I'm also feeling a movement as well. You can see it in my body, I can feel it in my brain, but movement compels a lot of the musical sounds that I make. And this is a perfect segue to this beautiful artwork that is also part of Min's life.
Oh, feels very nice. I just, wow, it's beautiful what the pictures from you. In Chinese tradition, the parents, most parents will push their kids study 4 things: instrument, calligraphy, painting, and play Chinese chess. And so I'm going to be very busy when you were young. You have no time to play. Yeah. So I studied it. I didn't play chess. I'm very bad for that. But I studied Chinese painting and calligraphy. This actually is a ballast, right? Ballast is supposed to have 6 large from higher, like from 22 feet higher. So I did some project with 6 pieces, and today I only can hang
half of them.
Two
half of
pieces.
2.
Actually, thank you. They're actually helped me to hang this. This is a dragon. Actually, every word is dragon. You just see this how they change. I also inspired by all the calligraphy too, because the A standard strokes. Your music also, you can inspire for this A standard. This way, that way, then this way. So it's like a music too. A lot of
stroke,
shit.
right?
Yeah, each one. But of course, with this huge character, you have to stroke several times. It's supposed to be one stroke, because the ink, you see the ink is just spreading to the layer by layer, just so beautiful, and the dragon also means in Chinese history, actually people. Of course, in traditional people's imagination about dragon, there's several animals put together: the lion face and the snake body, and also the skin, fish skin, and also claw, eagle claw. So this is all imagination combination. So that's why I put this together. Also, you can see this dragon, but from each period, the people, how they're writing and changed little by little. It's same thing like music, always change. And so here this is.
With a big piece of fabric, you can't make a mistake. No, really. You can go over the same line, but what you put on the page has to last.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. You got to tell us a little bit about the stories. Go on.
I write in my language, Tamil. Tamil, also it's Tamil. I'm from Chennai. It used to be called Madras or Madras. I never knew I could write. Nobody in my family ever wrote anything, except my father was a composer too. But when Frank and myself got married and our son Anand was born, Frank had a scholarship from the American Institute of Indian Studies to go to India and study for a year. And he was paid in dollars, so we were able to have a maid to cook and clean, and I have said I had some time in my hands. We played concerts at the time too, but still, I'm a kind of a person, I have to do something. The very interesting thing I found out was, even I'm from a very big family, very protected family, and living with a man, especially who is so different from me, not only in culture, but in character. I'm very extrovert. You can see that as I talk. Frank, on the other hand, is very shy, very deep person. And it was very strange. In many ways, his character, he was somebody, it was so new to me. And all of a sudden, I felt like I could come up with something to share my experiences and things like that with my audience. But I cannot tell them it's my experience. A writer never says that it's your experience. I wrote one short, silly story, something about, this, and they published it right away. And from that point, I also won an award for a short story competition. I used to get fan mails from all over the world. All of a sudden, my writing was reaching everybody. I used to get letters from Sri Lanka and India, Dubai, Kuwait, and London. All these people writing to me about my story, which won that award. And all of a sudden, all the editors started paying attention to me. And it was also curious, like 30 years ago, marrying an American for a Brahmin girl was never heard of. So they must have thought I was very weird. So then they started asking me to write, and I loved it. I used to work for the Southern New England Telephone Company at the time, SNET. I was a computer systems analyst at the time, because I have a degree in mathematics, not in music. And I took computer courses when I came. Living with a poor musician was very hard, so I wanted to go and make money. So
I warned you.
So I had to work. I loved it too. I never regret. I loved the computers, and I loved that part of learning. But during the half an hour break, I'll go to the Yale Library, because we were in New Haven. Yale Library lawn, I'll sit and write something. Every day, disciplined to write half an hour every day. And it accumulated, and it got published in almost all the magazines. Now, sadly, I'm more known as a writer. And people come to me and say, there is a Veena player too, her name is Geetha Bennett. They know me as a writer. So my things usually involve about the human beings and their characters, not incidents, more emotion-based stories. So I really love doing that. And my father used to say, you have to have input for output. So I also read a lot, watch TV a lot. So I get a lot of inputs from many sources, and I just keep my eyes and ears open for many things.
You write about in your story
Yeah.
that you talked about the kind of different influences in the music. You
I
write
just-
about Western and Indian influences.
You know what? I don't touch music that much. I don't know why. I keep that a little bit. I'm a very traditional player and non-traditional writer.
No, but I mean, the theme of the two, it's called cross-cultural improvisation.
Yes, most of them are.
You married a Western, is that a theme of your story?
Many times, because that I have nowadays people even think if it is Geetha Bennett, it's about America, and many people have told me that they learn about living in this country from the stories. So I do write a lot about cultural differences and people, especially Indians living in this country. And it's a lot of themes to write about. So I have just so many incidents and so many people and their experiences and what I see and how I approach it and things like that. That's where I share that with the audience. Yeah, please.
I have a question for Frank, actually. Could you tell us something about the sounds? First of all, I'm very intrigued by how that drum is constructed in the center of that. Could you tell us something about the construction of it, the fabric that's surrounding it, and what that does to the sound, and also the bottom, what you were doing?
You've been watching me play with this paste over here, yeah. This is a kind of a peculiar setup. You don't usually put water on drum heads, but in this case, we have this tuning patch over here, which is...
Can you get up and show them?
yeah, I'll try to hold this up a little bit. You see that white thing in the center? That is actually cream of wheat. And you make a kind of a... It's kind of a clay consistency out of it. Mix a little water and mash it around until it gets soft. And actually, if I were to take it off, which I really don't want to do right now because I probably never get it to stick again, but before the performance starts, I have to put that paste on there, and it actually functions as, it adds density to the head. So the head goes down about a fifth or a little more, actually. And I can adjust the pitch of it by putting a little more paste, or if I want to raise it a little bit. I hardly ever do that, but once in a while you might. You can take a little paste off. But it has its own pitfalls because as you're playing along, you have to keep dipping your hand in the water and keeping it moist so that it doesn't come loose. And of course, you're playing all the time over here, so it does come loose. And when it does, the right hand has to do its thing without breaking the continuity, and the left hand has to repair. So it also has the added advantage that sometimes you can make a little boom. Right? This side over here has a permanent, or I should say semi-permanent, tuning patch also. This is made out of rice paste and some powdered stone, a particular kind of powdered stone. And that's about 60 layers of paper-thin layers of this material. And when we want to replace this, we have to put water on it, and it kind of melts and scrape it off. And then we start again with this black paste, and you put it on with your thumb, and you shape it as you go. And each time you set it, then you polish it with a stone. And when it heats up, it gets these tiny little cracks in it. I don't know, you probably can't see that, but up close, if you see it, you'll see that there are hundreds of little cracks. That, if you don't get the cracks, then you didn't do it right. Something was wrong. Your mixture wasn't right, or you didn't polish it enough, or something. But that enables me to tune to her fundamental pitch. Can you play your harmonic? See, that's my note. Now, if she goes and plays a trick on me and tunes a little higher or lower for a concert, she better warn me in advance, because I have to make some uncomfortable adjustments to the tension, which is done by these leather straps. This is 65 feet of strap that just go up and down all the way around. That's buffalo hide. And if it breaks, I'm in deep trouble. So it's an ancient design, and it needs, in my estimation, it needs somebody to take it and kind of redesign it, because we should be able to remove one head without affecting the other. That would help us a lot, because what happens is one head gets out of whack, and we have to remove the whole thing, completely start from scratch. It's about a 3-day job to put a new head on. So it's not a fun job, let me
A
tell
lot
you.
of muscles too.
Yeah, this is pulled very, very tight. If you could feel this, the tension here is very tight. And in India, it's no problem. You know, there's a guy down the street. And you just send it down to the corner, and it comes back, and it's beautiful. But over here, you're in deep trouble if it breaks. And when a head wears out, you have to send to India and get a head. Then you have to spend, for me, it takes more than a week to put one on. And usually my back is out of whack for the next 2 months.
Behind you, Frank.
I just wanted, my question was actually in 2 parts, though. The second part is inspired by what Jane said, which was so interesting about the movement and the sound, the connection for her. The position that you're sitting in order to play that
Yes.
is not a Western position for drum playing.
You can say that again.
So could you tell us something about how that position for you has affected your music playing, and how hard that was to adjust to that?
Yes, it's a kind of a painful story. Actually, I don't know, this is the way they do it in India, and I've tried a lot of other ways to play this, because this is really tough to sit like this for Indian. I'm just sitting with one leg folded up a little bit more than the other, so that I can sort of rest it on my ankle and hold it in place. But their concerts run 3 to 4 hours. And I tell you, when I first started this music, I thought I would never be able to sit more than 10 minutes. I remember the first Vina lesson I had lasted about 3 minutes. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to stop. I have to get up, because my legs are completely frozen. So it was a long time in coming, and still that is one of my weakest points, being able to sit for a long time. It's really a tough job, and my doctor said, for heaven's sakes, don't do that. And I said, well, that's my music. How am I going to avoid it? So I'm still searching around for a way to alleviate the pain that comes with sitting in this position.
And also, you know, the musicians, other musicians are also on the floor. Like sometimes we have to tell American institutions, if they are arranging our concert, I have to tell them we sit on the floor, because they automatically put the chairs for us. And since whether it's a violin, flute, or anything, we have to sit cross-legged like this. Like even in the middle, if I go like this, it's frowned upon.
It looks funny.
You have to sit cross-legged.
Well, if you grow up with it, it's not too bad. You know,
What if you didn't? What if you didn't? What if you assumed another position? What would that do to your music? What would that do to...
The etiquette of the stage, I think. That's what it is.
Well, it would look funny to the Indian audience. That's one thing. But if I find a stand that doesn't look too bad, you better believe I'm going to take it.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I'd like an explanation of that instrument.
It'll be my pleasure. We do have one more piece we want to play for you. After we talk about it.
Sorry.
I will show you. This is very... As I was telling you before, the voice is what appreciated most first in the Indian community. And we choose all the instruments or adapt them so that they can do what the voice can do. This instrument is Veena. It's either spelled V-I-N-A. My V's are a little bit different. V and W's are the same, so Veena, right?
You Aryan, you.
Veena, yeah. V like in Victor. I-N-A or V-E-E-N-A. Either way is fine. And this instrument is made of jackfruit wood. It's the trunk of the tree. It's a huge tree. The fruit itself is like this big. Very tasty. And The mridangam also, mridangam and veena, both of them are made of the same wood, jackfruit. And this does have a sound value. This one used to be gold, and now we are using fiberglass. And it has no sound value, just to put it on the lap. And the frets or brass frets inlaid in wax. And if you notice it, it's scooped. It's a little bit curved. And also this is wax and rosin kind of combined together in a proportion. And if I have to retune it, I just heat up a knife and put it there, it melts. That's how I move. I cannot leave this instrument for 2 minutes in the sun. It will be totally melted. So it's nowadays people are trying to work with the acrylic for the nail polish we use. Acrylic. But the wax is a conductor, sound conductor. That's the reason why they do this. We have 4 playing strings. Whatever the tonic of the day concert is, it's a D today. I usually keep it as E flat. And this instrument is tambura.
This is important. We had to tune to D because we had to adjust to the pipa, which also has a resonant string.
Yeah.
So we couldn't play an E flat.
Yeah.
It would put too much. Anyway, one of the good examples of what we had to do to adjust to each other.
This is a tambura actually. It's a instrument that stays in the back of me. Somebody will be playing it. It's a 4-string instrument. But nowadays, due to the portability of it, we have come up with a digital, and also it's very quick to change. I don't have to retune the instrument every time. Like if it is a little bit off, we still can. It can be adjusted, and it has the 4th, 7th. No. It has a lot of different notes in there.
I didn't know.
But we always tune it to 1st and the 5th, tonic note in the 5th. So this is D, E, F, G, D, G again. I have 3 strings on the side. Even this light affects the tuning. And the music, we have a violin which was taken 200 years ago, and it's adapted now. If you see, they will sit on the floor and play the violin. Flute has been around. This instrument is mentioned even in the Vedas, which is very, very old in text. But the name has existed, but the instrument has gone through a lot of changes. Only I would say in the last 70 years or so, it is an instrument, a harp instrument as a main instrument, and the pickups also help. Otherwise, you can't really hear the instrument without the. Because when we play with the drummer, you cannot really hear it. However quiet he is, it's very hard to hear that. So it's modern day facilities. So now I will sing something and try to repeat that on the instrument. And as I told you before, whatever we can sing, the ultimate goal is to reproduce that on the instrument you are doing. Whether it's a guitar, saxophone players are playing now too. So I will try to sing something and I'll try to play. And you see why the design is the frets are curved and I'm able to pull. Any raga, particular raga?
Sahana.
I'll do something else like a scale. I'll take the Lydian mode. It's called Kalyani. It's very famous in North and South. Lydian. So So you can pull. You cannot play it on the fret. If it's a guitar, you have to play like this on the veena. So you can pull and play. Unlike the guitar, it is pulled away from you. And that scooped fret helps to do that. Shall we play that one piece?
Yeah. Other questions, or shall we play?
Shall we play one more piece?
One more piece? Okay. We need a D and a G.
Yeah, I got it already.
Okay. Ending Red Song.
Ending red song.
Okay. It's also a brand new piece written for us called Ending Red Songs. Here we go.
About our programs and a complete archive of past Philip Tatey's events is available at philiptatys.org.